Yes, yes. And I tell you, in my case, it happened massively when I had the time to interact with people like you and network with people like you. It's when the universe is ready for you,
You kind of coach.
you will feel it.
With that stone, he said, even if I give you $100 million, it will be less for this stone. Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, students, dear faculty members, and the community at large. Welcome once again to the Amity University Happiness Podcast that we are doing for last almost a year and plus. Happiness Podcast, the series goes with the name Executive Harmony, Conversation with Global Leaders on Happiness and Spirituality. We always promise to bring a wonderful guest from this global small village, and we talk about the experiences and we talk about the learnings the global leader is in the domain of happiness and spirituality. Today we are lucky and we are honored to have a wonderful guest, Mr. Jack Barsky. Sir, most welcome to MIT University Happiness Platform from India.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to share with my thoughts with a larger audience. And a couple of things I wanted to state up front. I have an odd sense of humor, and you will be witnesses in a second. Occasionally, I say some things that you may not expect. This is one. When you look at, but this is not an artificial background. I'm talking to you from the planet of Glückseligkeit. This is where all the happy Germans live, and they will soon kick me out when we're done. I'm coming back to the United States. Okay. So that's number one. Number two, and that's a foundational talk that I'm going to have for about a minute. I am not arguing with you when you're talking about happiness, but in my world, and this may well be a matter of semantics. In my world, happiness is a subcategory of what I carry under fulfillment in life. And there are a number of things that fit under that heading, that is contentment, delight, bliss, elation, serenity, and happiness. So to me, happiness, to just define the word and how it operates in my world, is our brief moments of ecstasy when you just want to jump out of your skin, such as when, like an Olympic athlete, it's a 100-meter dash, and she finishes first. That moment will last for a while, but you can't repeat it. You can repeat it, but you have to do the running again. Or one more example, if I may. I played basketball in college, and I had a game when I was what we call in a zone. Whatever I threw up went into the basket, and we won the game by quite a bit. I never had a game like that ever again. And one of the opposing players, we knew each other already. He said, "Well, what, you had the golden arm today?" Yeah, I said, "Yeah." And that was a moment of happiness that I could never repeat. So when you ask about happiness, when you use the word happiness, I will expand
Sir,
everything that goes with it.
if you permit, then we can introduce your profile to the wonderful our future listeners and the current listeners. Then we move with the sections and the segments.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. A wonderful audience and listeners. Person in front of you is Mr. Jack Barsky. Mr. Jack Barsky started, you can say, he was working for the Russian KGB, and he was hands-on technician, programmer in information technology for about 10 years. Just like we have FBI and we have CBI in India, some similar we have in Russia. He has quit KGB long time back, and then he started focusing on 20-year career in management, during which he advanced from line manager to CIO, Chief Information Officer at two Fortune 500 companies. He has given dozens of interviews in various media, including CBS 60 Minutes, which had interviewed and which was aired 10 years ago, and when he left the corporate world. He has written a memoir called Deep Undercover, and he embarked on a career in public speaking and mentoring Fortune 500 business companies. And sir, just wanted to say you before we start, I'm a big fan of your post that you are putting on the LinkedIn. Each post is like a nail, you can say a hammer in my mind. And I'm sure with the thousands of people who like your post on LinkedIn with the corporate mentoring and coaching posts that you are giving, they're mind blowing.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. These posts are brief and are sort of like what I would call the appetizer to what I can deliver as a main course.
Yes. So I'm sure we would be having some flavor of those main course in this discussion that we would be having, the Happiness Podcast.
I would hope so, yeah.
So on behalf of our Amity University, our Group Vice Chancellor, our Honorable Vice Chancellor, our Honorable Chancellor, and Honorable Founder President, Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan, we welcome you for this Happiness Podcast. We are a part of Amity University, Rekhi Foundation, Center for Science of Happiness. So we are running courses on happiness, PG program, UG program, PhD program in happiness, and where thousands of students take courses in our campuses. So that is a little brief about the Center of Happiness, which is committed to build happiness and joy for the faculty, students, alumni, corporate community. And this podcast is a new medium where we are able to transfer the insights from global leaders like you to all the stakeholders. So let's start with the first segment of Executive Harmony conversation with the global leaders on happiness and spirituality. The first section is personal happiness. Mr. Barsky, as we just started discussing in the very beginning, can we reiterate what does true happiness mean to you in today's world? Keeping your background, keeping your experiences, keeping your perceptions all together into one basket. If you want to say what is true happiness, what it would be.
Happiness, and as you define it, the everything happiness is when you get up in the morning at my age and you know why you're getting up. You have a purpose. Your life has a meaning. You are interacting with a lot of wonderful people and you contribute rather than, and I'm not going to get into the negative, but rather than pursuing particular goals that will make you happy. That's an iteration of projects that will not make you happy. So I'm talking about, again, the subcategories like, delight, serenity, contentment, and just like the knowledge that there's a meaning in your being.
Okay. So serenity, meaning, delight, contentment, fulfillment, that means a true happiness for you.
Sir, yes, if I may.
Please.
And then there's this happiness, the spurts of happiness, which is I already described for an athlete when they win the game or when you're in the zone. I had those, and they are phenomenal. You just want to jump out of your skin and just stay where you are. But they don't happen on a daily basis, and you can't hang on to them. And you can't even manufacture them. They very often just come and surprise you. That kind of.
Right. Sir, we have interviewed and done podcasting various kinds of titles of people, vice chancellors, presidents of different nature and different people. You are the first kind of a person I would be interviewing, and somehow the questions, they don't mean much, but then answers from whatever perspective you are telling us, that would be bigger than the question that I'm asking to you. So I would be whole ear in this podcast. So you have lived two very different lives. People keep on hearing the undercover agents. We hear in the movies, we hear only in the newspapers. So you have lived two different lives. One as an undercover agent and also a Fortune 500 business mentor. These are two different worlds.
Well, let me just say that again. I didn't jump from undercover agent to business mentor. I had a career in corporate in between. Yes. I had a career in corporate while I was an undercover agent. So, and this is what most people don't know the difference between the kind of agent that I was and most agents are. Okay. My responsibility was to come to the United States and integrate as a born American, pretending to have been born in the United States, and live a normal life. In other words, a career was part of that. So I was not trained to do evil things, to kill people and
Yes,
do
yes,
any of that stuff. So that was a continuation of my life. So
right,
if I may say, may redirect it, I lived under two completely different ideologies. And
right.
I was born and raised in communism, and I was a true believing communist. And then I came to the United States, and over time, I started believing in freedom and individuality and the pursuit of happiness as an individual. So these are the two worlds that I operated in. And guess which one I pick?
So just like since you just mentioned, you have been into two different ideologies. Some
Yes, sir.
people consider democracy and communism as poles apart. Do you think the same, or do you think something from your own understanding? What difference would be between democracy and communism, these two ideologies?
So you see, the communist ideology is extremely appealing. It's very romantic. It's
Okay.
about, not having inequality. It's about everybody being happy, everybody getting along. And
Right, right,
guess
right.
how that worked out? It never did. It has tried in history 27 times where different countries wanted to implement communism. And what that turned into every time is a dictatorship.
Okay.
So, in other words, in that dictatorship, you can be superficially happy as long as you play by the rules. And that means you have to lose your own self as part of a group, as part of and the German word is Kollektiv, which is not the same as team. You see, a team is comprised of voluntary individuals who operate together on purpose in pursuit of a bigger goal. The Kollektive, the German word, and I can't. It's sort of like a group where everybody is marching in lockstep to what the leader says, and that is supposed to make you happy. And guess what? While I was subjected to that, I played by the rules, but it didn't make me happy. It really didn't, because I did not want to go left when everybody went left, because I wanted to go right and pursue my own ideas and thoughts, and they were oppressed. So what I did in those days, I adjusted, because I knew for me to get anywhere in life in that society, I had to just play by their rules. When I came to the United States, I realized how oppressive that regime was.
So which one you it's better like? Which one you which is more closer to the true happiness that you perceived? That side in Russia or this side in US?
No brainer. I'm still here. If I had hung on to the idea that I would be more fulfilled as a member of the ruling class, because that's where I was headed, because I was smart, I was going to be a tenured professor eventually in German society, in East German society. I would have returned back there, and it would have turned into a disaster, because I had experienced the freedom to make my own decisions, including the freedom to fail and learn from my failure, and not being some kind of a robot who just says, okay, under the Nazi regime, they would say Heil Hitler. Okay. And we had our own slogans, Freundschaft, seid bereit, immer bereit, and all this nonsense. It was just like you lose your individuality. And I treat every person that I'm interacting with as an individual. And I want to be treated as the individual who I am, because biology says I have a unique genetic imprint. And since I don't have a twin, it's unique.
Right. So can you recall a personal moment that gave you pure happiness despite all the challenges that was facing you, whether in
Yeah,
Europe or whether in US or Russia or other countries? Few moments
I'm
that you still cherish.
I'm glad you asked, and that was a moment of ecstasy that I will never forget. I had fallen in love with the woman who actually reported to me. I hired her. She was my administrative assistant, and I was the chief information officer. She didn't even know that I was in love with her, but slowly but surely, I managed to. And it was inappropriate behavior, but slowly but surely, I made myself useful. I was in her space, and eventually, she said, "I love you first." Now, that was not the moment of happiness, but it was pretty close. But the moment that I wanted to talk about is when we got married. And she said, I do, in church. It was, and I have it documented. You know, there's an American sign when the referees in a football game, when somebody makes a score, a goal, and the sign goes like this. It's called touchdown. And I have a picture of me giving that touchdown sign. A German who's not a great football fan making that sign. It was totally instinctive, and I will never forget that. But I can't relive it. That was just this one moment.
Right. So I remember, sir, one of the podcasts I have done with one of the university president in US, American University, and I asked what was his happy moment. He said, I believe something like he said it, happiness is very coincidence. In coincidences, big happiness can happen. I said what it was. He said, one day I have a routine to go to gym, and one day I was not feeling well, that today I can escape the gym. But then my habit told me, no, you go to gym, even though you are not well, but go to gym. So, and then he went to the gym and he said, on that day only, I met the mother of my future children. And then they got married, and soon, and as you said, the woman of their life, and then they got married.
I tell you what, this is one of the things that I tell people all the time. You never know what's going to happen. You know, if as long as you're active and you go places, you do things, you never know who you're going to meet. You never know what's going to happen. And that happened to me, if I may. We have a coincidence, quote unquote. In my language, I'm a Christian. Disclaimer, I'm not trying to make Christians out of the audience, but I am a Christian. And if I don't admit that in this interview, I will be dishonest, and I don't want to be dishonest, okay? So anyway, as a Christian, we think that things are arranged by God, and I think other religions share that belief in some. But anyway, Inez, who is on this call here, reached out to me on LinkedIn based on a post that she liked. And as we were talking and talking and talking, we found so many things in common. I had this feeling of, wow, this is what you call a coincidence.
Right.
We are now the best of friends, and she's my everything.
I remember there is one famous book also written. I think he's a Nobel Prize winner, and he focused on coincidences. They are the big strategies of the universe to give you the best, something like that. No matter how much planning you make, whatever you make, something will happen which you can say coincidence, but that was the strategy of God, something like that, or somebody higher powers to
Yeah.
put you on a different pedestal, something like that.
Yes, sir. And you know, some of those quote unquote coincidences are actually defeats. And as you said, you get depressed and you're sad. It didn't work out. And a few years later, you figure out why it didn't work out, why it had to fail, because it redirected you onto a path that you would not have been
Fully
on.
agreed, sir. Fully agreed. Something like that, as you said, best coincidences are like defeat. And even if I, on a person, also think the same way, if I think whatever we are, whatever we have achieved, and if we look back in the past, I think the biggest contribution will be those moments or those situations when we didn't got what we wanted.
Yeah, and here's my biggest defeat that I can gladly share, because the situation is such that it is all cleared up. But just about 3 years ago, that woman who gave me the most happy moment in my life by saying I do told me that we can't continue living together. So we had an amicable divorce, and we can still now say I love you to each other. I'm a honorary member of a new family, and she's good friends with my new love. And it's like amazing. Without that divorce, it's a thing. What happened after when I became when I didn't have a family to take care of anymore, I needed to figure out what to do with my time, and I started meditating. I started thinking about. I got to know myself. I also had time to interact with people like you and other people in the universe with from whom I learned a lot. And what happened was it helped me grow at an age where most people decline. And I'm at a point now where I'm really comfortable with myself and I can talk with you in a way that I could not have talked with you 3, 4 years ago. And it was a defeat, and the defeat turned into victory. And I tell you, both the ladies involved will confirm that loud and clear. It is what it is.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Jack. And I think we are done with the first wonderful section, which is personal happiness. Thank you to you also for sharing some of the moments that you think which were not shared with anybody, and you opened up with the personal happiness section. Thank you for sharing those things. Now, yeah. Now we move on to the section number 2, which is happiness in work and leadership. Sir, as I said in the very beginning, I am a big fan of your LinkedIn posts and the insights and the clarity that you give in few words and 1 or 2 paragraphs that you mentioned. And you wisely said these are just, you can say, buffet is waiting. This is just a soup. A soup is being served, but the buffet that you have yet to offer to the whole world. And
when first of all, I'm still working on a master class that eventually, when I get done, it will be published.
A video?
There will be audio only. A video is a pain in the neck. I don't like. But anyway, and that's where I can do what I do best, telling stories. I am a masterful storyteller, and I know why I can say that. If you allow me to share with you the proof that I have. When my last child, she's now 14 years old, when she was 4 and 5, in that age range, I would read her books before going to sleep. Okay, like Harry Potter and like really, really fairy tale kind of books, really interesting books for children. And one day we had run out of books, and so I made up a story. Nowhere. It was about a bunch of toys having an adventure and running away from the Toys R Us. And they had adventures out there, and I didn't know how much she liked it. She fell asleep at the end, and then the next day I had books, and I said, "Would you like me to read another one of those books or continue with the story?" Story. Children don't lie. She wanted to know what happens next. If you take the people who read my book will give the same opinion about how it all flows. And so the posts are morsels that I will connect when I work with a mentee, and B in the master class, and C in interviews like that.
My 2 daughters, they also love stories, and something similar also I do. I tell them my stories, imaginative stories of different characters. We create our own characters on the spot. And I still remember, before they sleep, I tell them, give me any 3 characters of your choice. It could be animal, it could be a bird, it could be a toy, anything you want to say, ice cream, that in that story, this should be there at least. Then based on those, we create stories on the spot, and then they sleep.
Oh, that's even better, because what that does, you waken up their creativity. Creativity this is one of the components I didn't mention.
Right.
It's a component of happiness.
Right.
Creative, doing stuff that is yours and that nobody else ever thought of. Whatever it is.
Right. Whatever it is. So let's start with the segment number 2, sir. If you say, in work and leadership, as the theme today is from illusion to illumination. Sir, what illusions about happiness did you once believe into, and how did you discover what really matters?
Well, and I think I hinted at this already. The illusion that I had was, if I just fit into the communist model of everybody just like marching to the same drummer, that was a total illusion. It didn't work out. And what that ultimately I replaced with is the elation and the happiness I feel when I can help others fulfill their own potential. When I was a manager, when I take obstacles out of the way. I loved managing super geniuses who really, many of those don't have much of a personality. Let's put it this way. Personality in the sense of they're misunderstood by normal people. And a lot of them are actually autistic, and I'm borderline autistic myself. but I learned how to communicate, and I I was able to wake them up. I was able to protect them from the upper management that did not understand, that didn't want to understand them, and did not understand their value. And when they're happy and they produce, that is what really made me very happy. It's about helping others to embrace their superpower and use it to create something beautiful. And I'm talking also about this daughter that wanted me to keep on telling the story because she is incredibly smart and she's autistic. The people are, including Inez Gordon, who's on this call here, are helping her in a way that I even can't, to really bloom and blossom and embrace that superpower. So yeah, that's a little bit long, but this is what what gave me great satisfaction, happiness, whatever you want to call it, and gave me meaning.
Right. Sir, if you can just describe a little bit about what exactly, to the normal audience, those who would be listening, what does this role of being a corporate mentor involves? Because normal people understand normal companies, but they are having a big idea about Fortune 500 companies. So, what difference do you think being a coach of those Fortune 500 companies and coaching another companies? What difference it would be?
I would like to really point out the difference between coaching and mentoring, or maybe talk about what they have in common. A good coach and a good mentor will meet the mentees and the people that they're coaching where they are. There's a lot of people out there, and there's a lot of organizations that will come into a company, that will come to, or they collect a bunch of people, and then they do classroom teaching. Now, that teaching may be relevant to a certain percentage of the audience, but most of them say, "Well, I don't need to hear that." On top of it, the teaching happens in a classroom environment, and I have been subject to that kind of teaching when I was, like me and my colleagues, we were executives, when we were in an offsite meeting, and there was these consulting companies, and they taught us how to trust one another. Well, guess how that worked out? It didn't. Fundamentally, these lessons had very little impact on behavior. So, and I already pointed out that I'm an individualist, and I look at people as individuals, and everybody is not just an individual, but they also are in unique circumstances in their lives. And this is what a good coach and what a good mentor does. First of all, it starts out with helping people to really understand who they are. It's amazing how many people don't have really good self-awareness. Their awareness comes from their parents, comes from the outside, comes from bosses, anybody who has an opinion about them, and they embrace that, and they don't know who they really are. And if you do know who you are and what you do,
Can you give one example to person to understand anybody? Like you coach somebody and they were not aware of their unique qualities or unique circumstance. And once they got to know, then it is a big fire or big support for their personal life or professional life. Any one example?
yeah. And this is one of those genius people and you probably are familiar with the term imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome. Okay.
You're familiar with that. So I actually managed one of those brilliant people, and he told me that he isn't good at anything. He's got all these ideas, but I no nobody like thinks it's any good. So I don't know. I don't think I even deserve the kind of money that they're paying me. And I worked with him piece by piece and told him, what you did here is brilliant. The reason that it's not going anywhere because you don't have the ability to communicate the value to upper management so that they can finally say, well, in this particular situation, I went a little further because upper management was, I'm sorry to say, not very bright. And they didn't say. So I told my mentee, I said, you got to go find another place where they understand you, and because you have value. And he thrived. So my loyalty here is, and that may be misunderstood by people. My loyalty in this situation was not for the company. The company was disloyal to their employee. The company didn't even a good thing on their own behalf. So my loyalty in that coaching him to leave the company didn't do harm to the company because they didn't even know what they had. But it helped him, and he's still a happy camper doing what he does best.
Something like the old story, a famous story going on in the viral says there was a man who gave a piece of stone to his daughter, and he said, go find the price of this in a vegetable shop. So she said, okay. She went to vegetable shop and she said, I want to sell this stone. So the vegetable vendor said, okay, I will give you the price. I'll give you, suppose, $1 for this stone. Then she came back. Then the father said, go to a different kind of a showroom. And then she went there. She said, okay, I will give you maybe $100. Then finally the father said, go to a big diamond merchant and then you show your stone. Then the diamond merchant saw that stone. He said, even if I give you $100 million, it will be less for this stone. So the way you said it, go find somebody who value you. Don't get stuck up with the vegetable vendor who don't value you.
It's 100%, because when you're talking about normal people, what is normal? The normal is average. Now, if you are outside of the average realm, you will not be understood unless that you will run into somebody like myself who happens to understand that territory and has stepped into that territory. But, I'm sort of that link between that territory and quote unquote the normal territory. And that is the ability that you have is you have to be able to communicate, and you have to speak the language to that the person that you're communicating with understands. Not your own language.
Not your own language. Right.
That's right.
So many people chase success, but still they feel empty inside. So from your experience, how do you want to guide them? Okay, what is the link between success and happiness?
Well, first we need to define find out what people use to define success for themselves.
Okay.
And the majority of people that I'm aware of, particularly people who work with their brains, and well, even people who work for a living, period. It doesn't matter. Make money, take care of self, and take care of your family. Be able to go on vacation and have enough money to retire and play golf for the rest of your life. And what that requires is be successful in succession. You have one project and you need to be doing good with that. You have another one that you get promoted, and then you make more money. And so it's all about projects, and it's all about an iteration of goals. And then there's another goal, and that kind of busyness won't make you happy, won't help you gain what we talked about was serenity, satisfaction, and understanding, and having a meaning in life. That what people, when they're so much focused on the next goal and the next thing and the next thing, it becomes a part of the rat race. Make it about the journey. Make it about what's happening to you on a daily basis. Make it about serendipity. Make it about seeing the beauty in life and embracing failures instead of mourning and crying over the failures, because you must understand that those failures are there to teach you something to get to the next level. So it's all about, in my view, it's all about the journey. And that's not easy to grasp. It's not easy to grasp, but there's so many examples for very wealthy people who at the end of their life say, I don't even know what happiness is.
Is it?
Well, you just read the gossip pages if you still read a newspaper, or look at the gossip stuff on the internet. How many marriages of very wealthy people are falling apart? Now, is that a sign of happiness? I don't think so. Wealth and earthly success will not lead you to a state of satisfaction and fulfillment.
So out of since you said it, the gossip section. So what gossip happens among the you can say billionaires, millionaires? What kind of gossip they do? Because normal gossip we understand.
No, they don't gossip. It's the journalists are gossiping about them, to what happens in their life. For instance, you hear about, and I got to pick on Elon Musk having how many, 12 children with 12 different women.
Right, 12.
Now, in my estimation, that means Elon Musk, as brilliant as he is and as admirable a genius he is, he does not understand the meaning of love, because the sexual act is part of loving somebody. So, how does he love like a dozen people? And how can he love all these children? Can he be with those children? And I know what it's like. And you talked about your daughters. You know what it's like to love your children. I think there's a question coming up when you're going to ask, another happy moment is cradling that baby. Is worth a whole lot more than a luxurious vacation. It's worth a whole lot more than having a fancy car. It's worth a whole lot more than having millions of dollars in your bank account, because the very famous philosopher Beatles, what's his name, the lead singer. When it's this, I'm a great Beatles fan. It's anyway. It's the song is "Money Can't Buy Me Love," right? You can't. So, and so that's my opinion, and I'm unanimous in that.
Right. On a lighter note, some people, when I interviewed, or maybe not interviewed, but some people, when I read about, so they have given something opposite of this one statement, that money can't buy happiness. So when asked the same question to them, can money buy happiness? So they said, if you think money can't buy happiness, then you are buying happiness in the wrong market. You have to go to the other market where it could be bought. So, and some people says if on a lighter note, they said, since money can't buy happiness, but I would be happy to cry in my Lamborghini than in a Ford.
Okay, well, they're rationalizing. And here's the thing. Yeah, money can buy you that when your child is older and you bribe them with a bunch of money and then they come and sit in your lap, but it's not genuine.
It
Genuine.
is genuine.
It's not genuine, and it is not unconditional, because true love is unconditional. It does not depend upon the subject of your love to be worthy. It's about what's in here. And I can argue with the people like that until the cows come home. We will disagree, but this is my opinion. And as I said,
Right. So, as we move forward in your work with Fortune 500 business leaders, what patterns have you observed? Like while you talk to them or you coach them, and like how highly successful people they define happiness. Because when you mentor them, you must be observing some kind of connecting the dots. They all are doing the same kind of a folly.
Yes, yeah. It is very, very difficult to discover who you are, because
Okay.
I couldn't while I was in corporate, and then align with that self of yours to do work that you're doing really well, and you get to a point where it's not really work. Like, for instance, for me, writing my book, it wasn't work. I loved it. So why this is so difficult? The corporate environment, unless it's really small. Okay, we're talking about large Fortune 500, right? Is a huge organization, and it is not individually, but fundamentally, it is somewhat corrupt. It's somewhat political. When you have a lot of people cooperating supposedly with one another, everybody has their own agenda, don't they? It's normal. Everybody wants to take care of their family. Everybody wants to find a way to get to the next level, to buy the bigger house, and maybe a house with a pool to make everybody happy. So what happens is people take on a personality that they think would serve them best. So everybody walks around with a mask on. Everybody acts, and we are not very good actors, but the best actors very often wind up at the top. So that's the pattern that I observe, and it's very difficult to stay your authentic self. And that's what happened to me when I left the big corporations. I found myself, because I was play acting as well, because again, my number one priority was taking care of the family. That was my one, and not taking care of myself and embracing who I am. So now I'm in the entrepreneurial world, and it's a tough world to live in, but I can be myself, and I can share my opinion unfiltered, as I'm doing with you today. So when I go to bed at night, I don't feel dirty. I don't feel that I was not myself. I don't feel that I have been inauthentic and as such ineffective.
So would you like to elaborate with one sequence of discussions without naming any organization, leader, or name, like a sequence? Because changing the mindset is not changing a sofa set. Changing the mindset is like far more difficult, far more persuasive, far more maybe hammering the nail again and again onto somebody's mind till they get it. If it would happen to a student, it's easier. But then to a billionaire and a millionaire and telling them, okay, no, you are not understanding the thing. And then he has to understand that I'm a millionaire and he's just a coach. What he will tell me, because how it goes, like at what point they melt down.
I have to be honest with you. I have not worked with a billionaire yet. I
Millionaire.
have I have and and not even millionaires. I'm typically working with people that aspire to become millionaires.
Right, right.
Uh, and I at one point I was worth a couple of $1 million based on my career. But at this point, I can't really give you a good answer how to operate with somebody who believes that they have arrived. I'm working mostly with people who want to arrive. And again, depending upon what they're after, if they really are after, it's their own decision. I can't tell them you must do this, this, and this. I can only give suggestions and say, try this, try that, try that. You must own your own decision, and you will then own the consequences. And one day, if life doesn't work out because of other circumstances that you did not take into consideration, and you walked around with that mask on all the time, I can't help you with that. So again, and you also talked about, fundamentally with groups. I don't work with groups. That's incredibly complex. And that's when you again you fall into the prescriptive mode. Tell people this is how you must work, and I don't like doing that. I'm not very good at that.
I was, sir, reading one of your posts recently about the misunderstanding of the concept fail fast. So you wrote elaboratively on that people think you should fail fast, invest fast, learn fast. This is the fastest ways to grow. What? Because this is what is being told in various meetings and debates in the entrepreneurial youngsters. Make a quick decision, make a quick investment. It's okay to fail, but you will learn faster. So, how much it is wrongly conveyed to these young startups? Because in India, the momentum is very high for startups, and even books are like epic failure, something like that. Fail fast, don't think much, make your parachute while you are diving from the plane, something like that. This concept.
You need to define what failure means. If it's a massive failure, how many times can you fail? So number one. Number two, my focus when I talk about with startups and young entrepreneurs is on learn how to execute, because this is a big weakness that I perceive, particularly in the young generation, but also in older people. It's about getting stuff done, have a structure, have an organization that will implement the idea so you won't fail. And oh, by the way, also, your ultimate goal is not failing. That makes no sense. So also do risk analysis. And it's a good idea to actually succeed the first time you try. And if you don't, you try again. But you don't go into the game trying to fail. You don't play football when you get close to the end zone to just throw the ball away. So you fail. That's nonsense. And there are so many sayings out there that people don't they adopt them because some expert came up with the idea and it all was written in a Harvard article. You need to understand, these kinds of slogans need to be investigated, analyzed, and whatever decision you make has to be owned by you, not be told to you by somebody else.
It is very difficult to find a true mentor, a true coach in today's cutthroat competition, or you can say very difficult to find somebody who will stay with you, guide you till the end, even if you hate your mentor. But mentor still keep on loving you, supporting you. But that is a very difficult challenge for trust going on in today's thing.
Yeah, to tell you, you You need to tell the truth in love. And if you can't tell the truth, you shouldn't be a mentor, because there will be some weaknesses and there will be some strengths. It's a mix. But my focus is on finding the strengths, finding your superpower, and then use it. And that may actually, as I already indicated, that may require that you make a change that you might be uncomfortable with, but that will make you more effective and much more happy, for lack of a better word here, in your work environment. And I got to go back. It's not just all about money. It's about, why am I here? What is my purpose? What makes me happy? How do I serve others? There's so many things that are not directly material that play a big role in people's lives, whether they know it or not. And again, I can preach to somebody like, if you're sitting now, if somebody else is sitting in your place and they're not yet searching, I can preach the same things that I just told you, and it won't go anywhere. I can't take on any potential mentee because I don't have a magic wand. They need to have a desire to grow and find what we both now call happiness, not just in work life, because it's all part of life, but also in life. So the mentoring sort of partially becomes life coaching as well, even though the focus is on the business environment.
So now since it is a trust issue going on between the coach and the mentee in today's world. So when the coach is true, my question is this: how does a mentee knows for sure the person whom he is being coached by is the genuine mentor?
Well, here's
Is
the
there
thing.
any symptoms, pointers by which if he knows 1, 2, 3 this, he is with the right mentor, a coach?
If you gave me such a coach as a mentee, I think I would not take him on. You have, and I tell you what is absolutely 100% important to develop trust is authenticity. No matter whether you have an audience, no matter what audience you have, you always are yourself. Over time, that will generate trust. Trust does not come overnight, but if the same person always shows up and uses the same logic to come up with ideas and conclusions, and if that person uh, has a loving approach to interacting with a person that they're coaching or mentoring, the trust will develop. I'm not bragging. I'm doing pretty well in the trust department because I pretty much don't filter what I say. I haven't filtered anything that I'm telling you today. That's coming. That's who I am. Take it or leave it. And I would like for you to take it because I think I've gotten enough feedback that there's value in it. And if you don't value what I have to tell you, God bless you, and find somebody else. I'm not the be all and end all medication that you can take and become so.
Like in a spiritual perspective, we just know only few things. It is said, a famous proverb says, when the disciple is ready, the master appears. Or in a normal language, when a student is ready, the teacher is ready. The teacher appears.
Yes. And well, and it also could happen that the student will actually seek out the teacher or accidentally run into the teacher, right?
The vice versa happens.
Yes. And I tell you, in my case, it happened massively when I had the time to interact with people like you and network with people like you on a fundamentally daily basis. And they all became partial coaches to me and fed me back very, very valuable information about myself. So that's how I got to know myself. Yeah, and I don't want to repeat what you said. It's raw wisdom that you talked about. It's like it's when the universe is ready for you.
You'll find
You
a coach.
you will feel it.
You'll feel it. How, sir, like in a normal, since you are a coach, so does the company approaches you directly, or it is like you are having an office and this is how you work it out?
I don't know. I work with individuals, and I have not yet found a company that reached out to me. And I wonder how I would operate in a situation like that, coaching individuals that are part of a team, because even if you coach each individual separately, the team dynamics have to be handled with the team. And I am just, as I told you multiple times, I'm an individualist. I can lead teams and I have led teams for sure, but always focusing on the individuals that are part of the team. I don't know. Would I say no if a company approached me? It's always worth a try. I saying no makes no sense, because you say no, then you fail by default, and failure is not something that I'm interested in. So, okay, that's the long answer.
Okay. So we always hear in organizations, almost 90 to 95% of, you can say, bosses, they are ruthless. And how much do you agree? Like, no emotions required, just goals, just focus on the process. That's all. Is it like without any human touch? If somebody got a heart attack, somebody got this, oh, I got a policy for you, just manage yourself. That's all. And
All
that's
right,
the person.
all right. Well, let me tell you how it didn't work and how I fixed this. And I was working for United Healthcare. I was at MetLife, and United Healthcare acquired the business, that unit that I was part of. I was assigned a new boss, and he was in charge of the technical infrastructure at United Healthcare. But he had a person underneath him that was placed there to manage the infrastructure team. And he was one of those ruthless bosses. And he told everybody that they're just like replaceable, and they're like, they're just like robots. He didn't understand what they were doing. And what happened was the team was falling apart and the people were leaving. So this higher up called me in and said, I want you to fix this team. So I walk in there, first team meeting. I walk in there, I have a tie on, and you're familiar with Dilbert?
Right. The
Okay.
principal, but yes.
Yes, it had Dilbert. It had a Dilbert image. And so there were about 25 technical people in the room. And I told them, by the way, this is not a tie, this is a statement. So what I was telling them, without saying out loud, I'm one of you. And then I started sitting down with each one of them one on one. And we started the healing process. And when the time came and there was pressure, there were situations when I sent somebody home. One of the guys, like, he was constantly working overtime, and he was on the phone, and I figured out, I walked by there. I was always on the floor. I was always telling people how wonderful a job they do, and just like stroke their ego. People work for recognition, work for being loved. It's important. But anyway, so I'm walking by this desk, and it appeared he was talking to his wife. I said, "Give me the phone." And I said, "You're the wife of," I forgot his name. "Yes, I'm telling you right now, in your presence, if he doesn't go home right now and hug you, he will not get a bonus next time bonus time comes around." It worked like a charm. It's and my basic, and eventually I think we're going to get to that point. My basic principle is treat people with love. Love is the most powerful human emotion there is. I lived through this. I know it. And so, yeah, those tough bosses, of course you have to execute, but you only execute well if you have the buy-in from the people that do the execution. And if you treat them with love and you appreciate them, then you do get the buy-in, and you don't have to yell at them, and you don't have to be nervous, and you don't have to like freak out. That's just bad management. Ultimately, you get stressed and you'll be miserable. Would I want to coach somebody like that? I might try, just to introduce the concept and ask them to just give it a try,
Right.
because it worked for me. It might work for you, but that may require an internal reset that may not be that easy.
I'm just imagining, sir, I'm just wondering how somebody can control you as a person, employee. And I just wondered how the reaction would have happened, or how you would have handled the other person, the bosses of yours, when you were in healthcare. So I cannot even imagine how you were able to sway, or you can say gracefully land in those situations and come out of them. It's beyond my
Uh,
imaginations.
let me tell you let me tell you that, and there's a really
It's
good
getting
answer.
interesting, sir. It's getting very
I
interesting.
I volunteered for jobs that nobody wanted to take. I was
Okay.
always I was always a fixer. I got into situations where everybody else ran out of options. And I said, let me try this. At that point, nobody interfered with me. I had a situation in the United Healthcare. At one point, I had the audacity to interrupt the corporate the CIO, the corporate CIO staff meeting. Now, this guy was a big shots, big shot. I mean, I walked into his staff meeting, and he said, well, what do you want? I need a signature right now. And he signed this thing. And when I was about to leave the company, he came to me and he said, why are you leaving? You can pick your job at United Healthcare. I impressed him that much. Okay. You can't do this if you are in maintenance steady state mode, because then everybody is playing by the same rules. And, there's a structure that you have to fit into. And in those structures, I was pretty much unhappy. A lot of people are comfortable. If it's Monday at 3 o'clock, everybody meets and talk about the same thing that they talked about last Monday. That didn't make me happy. And that makes, competitive companies cannot afford to have that kind of a culture. Competitive companies. But like, for instance, I worked in the energy industry. There are companies that are subject to regulation and they have a monopoly. The electricity provider has a monopoly. There's very little competition, and they can have a risk-averse culture. If you're in financial services, you got to take risks. So, but I'm not going to go back into corporate. Okay, I want to work with people who I can make a difference with, and who I can help find their own version of happiness.
By that one statement, you made me very happy.
Which one?
That this topic that you are doing is exceptional. It is not new. It is not the
Yeah, I was really surprised to find out that an organization like yours actually exists. I guess only in India, because, and I have quite a few Indian friends, and I don't know if you're familiar with a fellow by the name of Ravi Zacharias. Ravi Zacharias was an Indian philosopher. Huh?
What name?
Ravi Zacharias. He passed away. He was a Christian, and he had an organization with a lot of very, very smart people. So I understood one thing, that your country is quite spiritual across the board. Isn't that true?
In one meaning, yes, but in other meaning, no.
And the other meaning is when Western culture came in and destroyed.
I will not say roots, or you can say destroy. I mean to say nobody can destroy spirituality. But yes, somebody who is still not mature enough to handle that at mass level, and they are being offered false things or something like that, they all get influenced by that.
Yeah.
So, yes. Okay, let's move on. So now we have this third section on spirituality, on happiness and spirituality. So spirituality, at our perspective, is not religion. It is like the way of life. This section would be just exploring with few questions. And how do you relate the concept of spirituality from your perspective and your own experiences? So the first question is, how do you see the relationship between happiness and spirituality? Are they together? Both are one meaning, as you said, serenity, delight. Do you think that is spirituality for you? Or do you have some other meanings that you want to say?
No, actually, spirituality, and that is part of my growth. And I told you that I had a growth period, and I'm still growing. We don't stop growing until we leave this earth. But, I had this growth spurt, and that involved becoming spiritual. And because I told you there was a divorce, and all of a sudden I was by myself, and I had time to figure things out, get to know myself. Why am I here? Where am I going? What's my purpose? And I would always say to people that I can't sit still. I'm super high energy. I'm very high kinetic energy, and I would never be able to meditate. And I found a mechanism that allows me to meditate, and that's called deep breathing. You're probably familiar with the technique. And so I now do this every morning at the start of the day. And then and while I'm doing that, I have to sit still. I can't go anyplace. So that's when I converse with my higher power. And there's an impact. It adds a component to my overall faith that wasn't there before, and people noticed the difference, particularly people who have known me for a long time, including my ex-wife, and who was at one point my strongest critic. She was praying for me to develop and go into that direction. So absolutely, if you search for happiness and you think you can find this outside of spirituality, I don't think so. I think it's a very important component because, think about it. The moment you start thinking about the universe, it's either threatening to you because you can't understand it, or you feel a connection to some higher power, whatever you call it. And if you have that connection, that makes you more certain about your own being.
Very truly said, sir. Either universe will, if you are in competition with the universe, then you are certain to lose.
Yeah, from the get-go.
The other one is better option, that you feel connected with the universe, kind of a higher power, a kind of a real self of yours, and we just merge with that oneness feeling, kind of a thing.
And quite, let me tell you, I have so much evidence in my life that there is a higher power because my life was not planned, and you know a little bit about it. I didn't plan my life. It was the result of mostly other people either making suggesting something for me, like the KGB saying, "Why don't you join us?" or other people doing something in the background I wasn't even aware of that had a big impact on me. I give you this one example. When my first American wife decided to get pregnant, now I told her I don't want to have children. Well, she decided otherwise. And as a result, I had my first daughter, and who I fell in love with. And as a result of that, I quit the KGB. So, these things happened without me planning or engineering them. Somebody else moved other people to do something. Or I also have several situations where a higher power saved me from mistakes I made that should have landed me in jail. If I'm in jail, the KGB will get me out, and I don't get to talk to you today. I would be miserable in Russia, assuming that I'm still alive. So all these things that happened under the heading of serendipity, or dots that needed to be connected, I had nothing to do with that. So something happens in this universe that doesn't just happen spontaneously. And one more thing about the higher power. Every time I go outside and I look at flowers and trees and people walking their dogs, and I'm looking at the complexity and the beauty of our world, I say, and that happened spontaneously out of nothing? I don't think so. That's illogical.
So just wanted to think next question on that. There are, as being a human being, we have our own fear, we have our own dilemmas. This discovery of spirituality, is there any way by which you have removed any kind of fear or a dilemma?
Well, one thing I already mentioned, that I was born a Stoic. Genetically, I was nearly fearless. There were some fears that I had.
How it happens, like genetically, like what does it mean? It is like perception, or it is like how you say genetically?
No, I was very adventurous as a child. I did things that I shouldn't have done. I took a lot of risks.
Okay.
And so when I came to the US as an agent, I was never in fear. Now, there's one thing that helps with this. And let's say you're wired to take risks. And then if the risks work out, then you take the next one more easily, and the next one more easily. And practically most of everything that I did where I took a risk worked out, or I convinced myself that it worked out. I, you know, I get nervous. Like I was nervous before the start of this session because it's a unique session. I understand it makes two of us, but no fear, no fear.
So one question based on my one understanding, as you said, fearless. And in one of the spiritual perspective, in an Indian system, we say we have 7 chakras, or you can say 7 power points in the human body system. Have you ever come across this kind of knowledge, this systems?
No.
Okay. I'm just a quick thing. We say in our Indian spirituality, we have 7 power points in our body. And somebody who is fearless, somebody who is fearful, Somebody who is fearful, chances are very high he will always have a loose or upset stomach. So somebody who is fearless, his gut, or you can say the stomach, will be very strong. It can digest anything. It can digest anything, and it will really get upset.
Yeah. Now you're describing the personality of a Stoic.
Yes.
I'm a follower of Marcus Aurelius.
So this is what we understand. The moment you said fearless by genes and by adventure by default. So I'm just trying to link those two things. Anybody who is fearless, he had the second PowerPoint active, and his stomach will be very strong. It can digest even stones. Some meaning is that metaphorically, it can digest anything. I'm sure it's the moment you confirm to it. Yes, it is like that. So it is there with that way. One of the yes, please.
I got it. If you could send me something that allows me to do a little bit research into what you just talked about.
Right. I will tell you about send us something books and something about the 7 chakras that we have in Indian system. So accidentally we discover the second point that you just discussed, fearless point. Right. So what advice would you like to give to leaders and young professionals who are seeking lasting happiness beyond material success?
I already pointed that out. I don't want to repeat myself. And, again, it starts with the most important thing, I believe. Get to know yourself.
Get to know yourself.
Get to know yourself. It's foundational because everybody has a genetic profile and everybody has strengths and weaknesses. And there's lots and lots of evidence that if you know your strengths and you find out your strengths and you can use your strengths in daily life, particularly at work, you will be more successful, you will be better at it, you will be more satisfied. And it's not work, can become an obsession because it's really, when people don't use the phrase "Thank God it's Friday," that means they are in the zone. They are in a place where work is a blessing rather than something you hate.
Right. Thank you, sir. And we are now done with the first 3 segments of the Happiness Podcast. And already we have crossed 5 minutes more than the desired time slot. It will take some more time and then we will go to the end zone. Now we are at the cool fire round where I will be asking you one-liner questions. And I will request you to be as brief as possible. The section on elaborative is 1, 2, 3 sections only. Now here it is very precise, 1 or 2 words or 1 sentence, something like that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So at the risk of not being 100% with what I want to say, I'm going to try to stick to no more than 3 words.
Okay. That is far more precise. So one book that lifted your spirit and gave you joy, since you are an avid reader.
The New Testament and the Bible.
Happiness in 3 words.
Love, be loved.
What gives you more happiness, achieving goals or helping others achieve theirs?
Helping others.
Helping others. If happiness were a place, where would you find it?
It's right in here. I'm pointing to my stomach.
Okay. If happiness could speak, what would it say about your journey from illusion to illumination?
Find yourself, love others.
Okay. One word that instantly makes you happy.
Schnucki Putzi.
What?
I have to explain this. This is a term of endearment in German. When my beloved Inez, who is still on, calls me Schnucki Putzi, I get happy. It's like, it's a German word that nobody else would understand, but it's that sort of translated honey
pie. Like a sweetie pie, like a honey pie, something like that.
Right.
Okay. A song that lifts your mood each time.
Blackbird by the Beatles.
Blackbird. It is by?
The Beatles.
Beatles. Okay. I'm also a big fan of this team and just wanted to say about Beatles became spiritual and they had one of the spiritual guru from India, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. And there was a big fight in their own Beatles team. Some issues happened in the group, but then soon it got resolved, but then become spiritual later on. Who is the happiest person whom you know personally?
Little children, lots of them.
Any reason that you think why they are the happiest person? What one quality which is not in adults?
Because they know magic is real.
They know magic is real.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Any one childhood memory that still brings you joy?
My father decorating me in front of the entire school.
Decorating you means dressing you up.
No, okay. I wanted to keep it short. My father handing me a medal that I earned in a sports competition in front of the entire school.
Okay. Okay. So what makes you happier? A quiet walk in a nature or a lively conversation with friends?
Conversation, hands down.
Any happiest compliment you have ever received?
That my being reflects spirituality.
Sorry?
That my being reflects spirituality.
That
My
your being
appearance.
reflects spirituality.
Yep, my very being.
One unique question, sir. What to say or how to handle the toxic boss? How to handle toxic boss in like a quicker by somebody who is afraid, somebody who is like overwhelmed. This is a common story all across.
Don't engage.
Don't engage. Okay.
Get you nowhere.
And any punchline that even a CEO will dance inside, like something to listen to from you. Because you write so wonderfully, you have such clarity. Any one magical statement or any one magical advice to all the CEOs?
Remember, it's all about the journey and not the destination.
Okay. You did so wonderfully well, sir, for the cool fire round. Thank you so much. I'm sure you must be having a good time for getting very precise words for this unique kind of questions. Thank you so much, Mr. Jack.
Thank you. It was challenging, but I tell you that may surprise you. I'm not tired.
Wonderful.
I am, I'm fired up to, it's just like that happens to me when I have a good conversation. I don't get tired.
So happy to hear, and it's
Yeah,
a compliment.
very good talking with you. One of those days I will have an opportunity to come to India. Where are you physically located?
We are in, you can say, Delhi.
Oh, okay.
The capital of India. So I'm there.
And I'm not buttering you up. I just wanted to share one more thing about Indian.
Please, please.
And I'm 100% honest about this. Southern Indian food is in the top 3 of foods that I like. So number 1 is Mexican. Number 2 is German because I have it in my blood, and then Indian. I love hot, spicy Indian food. And unfortunately, where I live in Austin,
Okay.
there is none that I've found yet. I used to live in Atlanta. There's a whole section of where they have one Indian restaurant next to the other, and I would be there quite frequently. The buffet. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I will now request the audience to take one question.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So my question was that we did discuss about the money, happiness. So my question was that does success means earning money, and does really money leads to happiness, or it's just the people's mindset in today's lives? Like, what do you think about this?
Well, I want to turn this upside down. The lack of money can be in the way of happiness for sure. Absolutely. You have to have a foundation. If you go beyond what you need to be somewhat comfortable and don't have to worry about whether you can pay the bills, I've been there myself. That will be in the way of happiness. Now, there are exceptions in history, and I'm sure you have those people in India, like holy people who can be happy no matter what the circumstances. I'm not that holy, okay? But again, if you go beyond of what you need to function and not worry about being able to function as a physical being, the money will not increase your happiness in my view, or it's sort of artificial.
Okay.
Shivani, there was a research done how much money makes a person happy, and
Yes, sir.
beyond which how much money will not give you happiness. The research is like which was done in US only. If you are earning suppose $60,000, if you have $60,000 to $70,000, that
Okay.
is enough. After that, the intensity of happiness doesn't matter, doesn't change.
Okay,
Beyond
sir.
the limit.
I need to like earn that much of money, then I got the happiness.
So just like if you get one car, you are happy. You get two cars, you are happier. But if you have three cars, your happiness will not grow much.
Yeah. The more that's my experience. The more stuff I had when I had money, the more of a pain that stuff was. I have, even now I still have too much stuff because my ex-wife bought me a lot of clothes that I still haven't worn. It can also be the case when you have a lot of money because now you got to figure out how to invest it so you won't lose any.
Right.
Same thing as when you're in corporate and you are at a high level. You now are operating in fear of losing what you got because there's other people that want your job. So that will then determine how you approach your job. And so you walk around miserable and become that dysfunctional, nasty boss that we find a lot. Fear.
Shivani, I think you got your answer.
Yes, sir, absolutely. Thank you so much, sir.
Right. Thank you, Shivani. So now we are with the end of this podcast. And I just wanted to ask you one thing. After the end of the podcast is done, and then when we are done with the editing of the podcast, so we would be creating one special, unique, happy memento that would be added to the podcast. So before we'll create that memento based on, I will request you to just say a few words or keywords or a phrase that is very close to you, and we will create a song based on whatever word or phrase you will say. So I would like you to give us that phrase or some keywords, and we will keep those words in that song and we'll create it.
Okay, here goes. Love conquers all.
Love conquers all.
Uh-huh.
So if you would have been at Amity University physical, then a memento is physical, hard things. But since we are talking virtually right now, so we thought of creating a virtual happy memento, which will remain into your life memory.
From Amity Center for Science of Happiness, we welcome a mentor and friend through a life of change and courage. Jack Barsky reminds us love conquers all. From shadows of the past you came, through trials, loss, and fire, a journey carved with courage deep, now lifting hearts much higher. Love conquers all, it breaks every wall. Through truth and hope, we rise when we fall. With gratitude we stand, together we call. At Amity we sing, love conquers all. Jack, your story lights the way, that change redeems us all. From silence into guiding light, you've answered love's true call. Love conquers all, breaks every wall. Through truth and hope, we rise when we fall. Your wisdom inspires our spirits, and for all, together we know, love conquers all. The past may test, but love redeems. It heals, it builds, it fuels our dreams. With open hearts we rise, we stand tall. In happiness' name, love conquers all. Love conquers all. It breaks every wall. From Amity's heart, we share this call. With Jack by our side, our voices enthrall. Forever we know, love conquers all. Love conquers all.
Love conquers all. A wonderful word, wonderful phrase that you have given.
Now you make me cry.
Sir,
Thank you.
emotions are then there. Then this is the real bond of the purpose of happiness is if the happiness is not going deep into the heart, happiness is not worth it. So
You
if you have,
summarize it very well. Thank you.
so with this time extension is worth it. And I'm sure I got to see that the gesture of yours also, that you did it when we said a custom song would be there, and you give a very good gesture. Thank you for giving that compliment to us, that we touched your heart. And
Yes, it does.
this happiness podcast, the only objective is to make a connection with the new hearts world over, because once the connection is made, then many things grows at various levels. And we are just building up the happiness ecosystem, talking to global leaders and people. And because once the top authority is, we believe happiness is basically top-down approach. And all the leaders have many mentees under them, many employees under them, and it flows down. The love at the top flows down.
Yes. That happiness cannot be a grassroots movement. It will fail. It will suffocate.
Somebody was asked, a spiritual guru was asked, how to make this world happier. There are 8 billion people in this world, 9 billion about to happen, and so on. So he said, number doesn't matter to me. Just give me the top leaders of few countries. If I can manage them for 5 days, the whole world can be happier.
That would be a great experiment.
Right.
Those leaders probably wouldn't want to be managed. And
Agreed.
I'm not gonna name any names, but I have some in mind.
Right. So with this, we come down to the close of this happiness podcast, and I will request you to Mr. Jack Barsky, who has been very kind and generous, and compliment he gives multiple times. First of all, he didn't got tired in the podcast. The first compliment. Second, then he also said the gesture that he gave. Second compliment to us. And third one, he also said this is a very unique podcast that he is into for the first time. Many things will happen in future also. We'll try our level best to build the momentum of happiness with time also, with your presence and your influence. And I will request you to give a closing message for our future listeners and our current audience who are here about this, your perspectives. A closing message.
Closing message. Anybody who is listening, be prepared. If I ever meet you in person, I will attack you with a hug.
That's such a contrasting and imagination, a visual, somebody can have it.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And with this, we come down to the closing of this unique podcast that we have ever done with somebody. And this is the whole objective of this happiness podcast. And Amity University is committed. Center for Science of Happiness is committed to enhance the happiness of students, faculty, community, corporate community at large by bringing the brilliant minds from all over the world so that these insights can travel to everyone at each part of the world. And this podcast will be available on the Amity website, on the YouTube channels also. We will be putting up this soon link on the LinkedIn and the YouTube also for everyone to access. And it's such a joy and honor to host Mr. Jack Barsky. And I have no words, though I have little, you can say, my eyes are also having some kind of a getting wet also. Maybe when the intensity of joy is too much, I'm sure you will also think that eyes get also wet from inside. And whatever is going on.
And I got this feeling right here as well. So I think we can end with a mutual I love you without being ashamed of saying it.
I love you, sir. I love you, sir.
Love you too. All right.
Thank you, everybody, and see you soon for the next podcast, which is lined up soon at Amity University Center for Science of Happiness. Executive Harmony conversation with global leaders on happiness and spirituality. Bye from here. I'm your host, Professor Nitin Arora, the head of Center for Science of Happiness, Amity University, Uttar Pradesh, Noida, India. Bye from here, and stay happy, stay fit, and keep spreading happiness no matter where you are. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, Mr. Jack, for your time, and thank you so much for your presence. And we stay connected. Thank you, IT, for your kind support. We can close the session, please.
Hey, hey, chalo na, का मौसम गया, जहां मीठी बातें हर एक अजनबी से हो, भूले हम भी जो सारी फिक्रें, लम्हा लम्हा खुशियां।
आजकल सारे उदास रह रहे हैं, लेकिन आपकी जिंदगी में कुछ खुशी का जरिया होगा, तो आपको क्या खुश करता है?
What makes you happy?
पैसा और वर्किंग आउट। पैसा और वर्किंग आउट।
फ्रेंड्स, बेस्ट फ्रेंड।
बेस्ट फ्रेंड। ओके। तो इसके अलावा और कुछ? फैमिली। और पैसा रहेगा तो सब अपने आप ही खुश हो जाएंगे, इसलिए यही आप कहना चाह रहे हो। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
चलो ना गाए नए नए गीत, खेल ऐसा क्यों ना कोई खेल जिसमें सब ही की हो जीत। इन दिनों भूलो तारे कोई भी देखता नहीं, देखे उनको दीवाने हो के कोई कितना भी हमको टोके। खुली हवा हो खुला समा, जागे हुए हो सब अरमा, बेबे बेबे बेबे।
हाय, कैसे हो? खाया क्या खुशियों की कसम? ओ हेलो, ऑफ है मूड, सैड हो तो सुनो, देखो मैंने तो खा ली है हैप्पीनेस वाली कसम, इसके साथ ही कह दिया टाटा बाय टू ऑल द गम। हाय, कैसे हो? खुश हो क्या? सच कहो। ओके लिसन, देखो ना झूम रही हूँ पूछो कैसे, सबको रिकमेंड करती हूँ मैं हैप्पीनेस वाली कसम, जिंदगी में एक ही काफी है, नो टेंशन हम हैं मगन।
हे चलो ना ढूंढे शहर एक नया, जहां मुस्कुराहटे हैं बिखरी, जहां से गम का मौसम गया, जहां मीठी बातें हर एक अजनबी से हो, भूले हम भी जो सारी फिक्रें, लम्हा लम्हा खुशियां।
आजकल सारे उदास रह रहे हैं, लेकिन आपकी जिंदगी में कुछ खुशी का जरिया होगा, तो आपको क्या खुश करता है?
What makes you happy?
पैसा और वर्किंग आउट। पैसा और वर्किंग आउट।
फ्रेंड्स, बेस्ट फ्रेंड।
बेस्ट फ्रेंड। ओके। तो इसके अलावा और कुछ? फैमिली। और पैसा रहेगा तो सब अपने आप ही खुश हो जाएंगे, इसलिए यही आप कहना चाह रहे हो। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
सब एक ही हो जी। इन दिनों भूलो तारे कोई भी देखता नहीं, देखे उनको दीवाने हो के कोई कितना भी हमको टोके। खुली हवा हो खुला समा, जागे हुए हो सब अरमा, बेबे 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 हम धड़कने दिल जैसे धड़के धड़कने दो, क्यों है कोई आग नभी शोला जो भड़के भड़कने दो।
हाय कैसे हो, खाया क्या खुशियों की कसम। ओ हेलो, ऑफ है मूड, सैड हो तो सुनो। देखो मैंने तो खा ली है हैप्पीनेस वाली कसम, इसके साथ ही कह दिया टाटा बाय टू ऑल द गम। हाय कैसे हो, खुश हो क्या, सच कहो। ओके लिसन, देखो ना झूम रही हूँ पूछो कैसे। सबको रिकमेंड करती हूँ मैं हैप्पीनेस वाली कसम, जिंदगी में एक ही काफी है, नो टेंशन हम हैं मगन।